3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. This is season 2, episode 9, Justice is Never Late. It's long, but it's never late.
That's never late.
It's
Or is it?
I'm brooding.
Or
I'm dark.
but at least it got here. And technically, that title, now that I think about it, doesn't make sense, but it still sounds cool. It's like that scene when Batman says, like, he's never faced us, not united. It sounds cool, but it's like, does it make sense? I don't know, but it sounds cool.
That is part of ZACK SNYDER'S Justice League, which was just released on HBO Max this past week. So those of those who haven't watched it, go ahead, give it a try.
Or don't.
Make up your own mind.
You can decide, though.
A spoiler alert is in effect, though. It's just,
yes.
I mean, it's a 4-hour movie. We'll get into a lot of the nitty gritty. Obviously, as you can tell, there's a lot of strong opinions today. So we will be spoiling things because we are very passionate about the things we liked or didn't like. So spoiler alert, if you haven't, take 4 hours of your life, go and watch it. Thankfully, the movie's divided in chapters, so you can stop, go to the bathroom, eat something, or just stop and go back again.
Wow.
But this is our Zack Snyder Justice League conversation.
So I think general impressions first. Then who wants to start?
Oof.
Let's go with.
I think Mo's ready to go. I think
I'm ready to go.
I think let's do a compliment sandwich. Nani first, then Mo, and then me. And that way we keep it.
No, because I will always add a negative aspect.
You like playing devil's advocate. Okay.
I love playing devil's advocate.
So I actually enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting absolutely anything from this film. The first one was terrible. I didn't think. I didn't really think.
Justice League or the first Snyder film.
The first Justice League and the first Man of Steel and I thought all of them are pretty bad.
It's kind of like if you have a crappy cloth, you can make something better. Like, unfortunately, you just have that role.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even with the hype, that it felt like a different movie, I was like, how much can they actually change it? I mean, but they pulled off something pretty miraculous, honestly. I mean, the plot is still essentially the same because, it was always, that was the plot. That's it. There's nothing you can do about it. But it was, even if it's so long, in my opinion, it has a way better pace. It's more concrete. It feels more like it makes more sense, period. Aside from that first intro that I thought was a little slow because it was,
yeah.
I mean, there were some epic, Lord of the Rings style shots there, but it was just too slow. But aside from that, I thought the pacing was actually pretty good. They improved the soundtrack and just the editing in general. The fights there was more tension in the fights. They didn't just go down like chumps completely because, they still sometimes do, but not completely. But in general, yeah, it was better than I was expecting. It was fun to watch. So that's my in general view.
I guess if we're gonna follow the compliment sandwich, then it's my turn. You know what? I think I'm gonna refer back to the word hope. I think
that's what the S stands for.
Yeah, that's what apparently the S stands for. But I think there was hope that they might make something better out of a train wreck. I think there was hope that that's the point of comic book heroes. You're supposed to hope, to have that faith. That Batman kept on saying, yeah, I'm going in faith. You're supposed to be able to experience all of that in a comic book. And what we got was, honestly, I've seen theatrical, cinematic, like games for the DC universe that had better like story than whatever was happening here. It was disappointing. It was cringy. It was brooding. It was.
Absolutely.
I honestly, I've laughed half like a lot of the parts of the movie was just like laughing because it was horrible, so bad. Like the acting was just bad. Everything like, what were you aiming for? It's like a fan made movie of a fan fiction. That's how it felt.
Interesting.
And then you rely on the whole movie. You start with that idea like, yes, teamwork gets together, and then it devolves into, oh no, we need the white man Ubermensch to come and save us. Like, you had a great team. You had somebody that had access to all the nuclear arsenals. Like, use Cyborg to just throw in a couple nukes and destroy the whole thing. You do not need Superman to come in and be the white Jesus to save everybody.
Well, I mean, at least this time they waited until the fourth part to mention the whole Superman coming back, because the original version, they wanted to bring Superman back from the beginning. They were just like obsessed with this idea. So at least this time, you know, they tried forming a team before.
They tried like
so
getting together and like you had everything there. Like then let's just get into it. You had three races: humans, who are obviously the weakest link. Then you have Atlanteans, and you have Amazonians. And then the first to get defeated are the Amazonians, because apparently they're the weakest. Like, it makes no sense. How come you had the whole plot story that the humans activated the box to get something out of it? Well, use that as the beginning of things. Make it seem that, hey, humans using their greed, using their love, and breaking past just like, oh, everything's good and evil. Like, oh, all of a sudden you have someone that used the mother boxes to bring life, something that's considered to be destruction. And then that activates the sequence of events. Then comes the evil guy and takes over that first box, and then grows in and goes against the Atlanteans or the Amazonians, but then it's the other way around. It's like this idea.
Well, you can't, because the new gods are afraid of Superman, so you have to wait for Superman to die. Yeah.
Like, seriously? Like, that's not. And then you had the character that was beautifully in some parts built, Cyborg, that has a great backstory. You can see everything they overcome to become a hero at the end. And then you take away that, like, the scene where you're supposed to get together with the mother box and expand your consciousness. It's just oh, we're your parents, let's go back. Like, seriously? I'm already a cyborg that controls and have access to information and everything. Are you tempting me with something that I know it's already not possible? Like, there was no nuance. It was just like, and then like, oh, Superman, I need you to break them apart again. Like, it all goes back to this unreliable, like, heck, do you need other superheroes? Just make sure you have a Superman signal instead of a Batman signal.
Yeah,
like,
that's why Superman has always been the most uncompelling hero for me. Always, it's just like, what's the point of anything else if you always have to rely on that? Which is why I think Batman is such a good foil for him, because like just a regular guy who's really smart and is able to take down a god. So I definitely agree with Superman.
I do love Superman, though. I'm sorry, I do. I love Superman.
I mean,
always have.
I love Henry Cavill because he's a beefcake. I mean, he's beautiful. He's got a shin made of marble and muscles of steel. But Superman is a different thing.
Oh yeah, it's like this idea that we all need a white savior to get things back together. Like, seriously? That's the story you want to, like? I mean, I'm not blaming Nanny on your. I'm just hating on Superman. I've always, I've always been anti-Superman. You like, oh, your weakness is
Anti-Superman and anti-Ubermensch. Yeah.
an anti-Ubermensch. Yes. And then the epilogue is like, ooh, here's a surprise bag of everything that I want to do,
You will
and
not see.
you will never see. And then honestly, I was like, I could have seen the epilogue by itself and be like, ooh, this is kind of cool. Like it is the combination of the fanfic. Like it's just like, ooh, look like everything on my brain. Like you got Lex Luthor bag, you got the Joker, you got alternate weird dystopian universe that is finally not black. At least it's red. It looks like they're in Mars, but it's not black like the rest of the movie. There's some color into it. So maybe it's not my fault. I hoped for something better. And obviously sometimes, hope is misplaced. Or maybe I hope that the writers of this comics like take a step back and analyze like what message are we going for? Like, do we just want to do a rip off of what are, obviously Marvel ripped off DC when they were doing their comics. But now that doesn't give you the right to rip off Marvel to do the movies and do a second-rate version of it like that. Like, get creative. Like Birds of Prey was creative. You took characters out of the conventional schemes and played them to become themselves, not force somebody to like a character. Because like, oh my God, everybody has such a tragic backstory. All their moms are dead, all their dads are dead. Like, come on.
You can't be a superhero with parents.
You can't be a superhero without a dead parent. Like, you cannot be a superhero just by, hey, I have compassion and I want to help people. Like, no. I mean, maybe the Martian, but I don't know.
I'm trying to think if there's a superhero with parents right now. Not ringing any bells. Well, Wonder Woman has a oh my God, Hippolyta was her mom.
Yeah. Yeah, and Zeus should be alive too, just somewhere.
I don't know. I thought all the old gods. Well, whatever. It's not the point. I want to let Mo include his thoughts here. Very passionate thoughts.
Or at least they haven't spoken in 5,000 years, which is, I mean, come on.
Possible.
It's you can assume they're that to them.
That there's no relationship there.
There's no relationship there. So yeah, it took me 4 days to watch the whole movie. Because it is
You're a busy person. You're a busy person. You have other things to do.
And honestly, everybody, like, yeah, if you watch it, enjoy it. Like, I laughed at it. I was like, yeah, I'm watching this because I honestly have given up after part 2, but I was doing this podcast, so I was like, I'm gonna stick it through. I'm gonna watch the whole thing. And the epilogue was nice. Some parts were nice. The whole middle part 3, and the building, like make a cyborg movie, and then and that was nice. But all in all,
what would you rate the original Justice League, and what would you rate this one now? Because I'm curious.
So technically, I never finished the first Justice League. I literally dropped it off.
Okay.
So it's worse.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it made an improvement on, at least on my end. But then again, I can't talk to the completeness of it because I never finished the first.
Finish the other one, yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting phrase to use, completeness, because if there is one thing that is lacking in the original Justice League is completeness.
I can imagine.
But I think this is a definitely interesting conversation so far, because I think this is the first time where we've had some intense disagreement on the liking or not liking of a particular piece of media. And I'm just gonna go ahead with my initial thoughts of Justice League, and my initial thoughts of Justice League are always rooted in the Snyderverse as a whole. Obviously, starting with Man of Steel. Man of Steel, I remember going to the theater and watching that whole sequence on Krypton and being like, yes, this is awesome. You know, like Russell Crowe, like I remember one of the things that I loved more best was Russell Crowe opening a door and doing, and I'm like, oh yeah. It's like, why do we have clap-ons and clap-ups? I just want to open doors like Jarrell opens them in fucking Man of Steel. That was amazing. But then
that whole sequence is great.
And you got Michael Shannon as being an awesome backer with his crappy Caesar cut. It was amazing. And like they shoot them into the quantum zone and giant dildos. It's great. Everything in Krypton is amazing. The problem with Man of Steel is everything that has to do with the Man of Steel. Because then we get to Earth and it's just everything's desaturated, and Superman, like, I get what they're doing. They're taking the most uninteresting hero in the history of heroes and trying to make him a tortured kid. It's like, okay, the god of gods, the most perfect human, is, you know, he's a little upset because he's stronger than everyone and can do things no one can do. And he was adopted. It's like, guess what? Like, a couple of friends of mine that were adopted, their life sucks. Go talk to them. Superman, his life doesn't suck. He's great. He's a god. Gods don't get to cry me a river. That's like when.
And he got really nice adoptive parents too.
Yeah, very nice adoptive parents.
Extremely nice. Like, the whole thing was to love him.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to be gloomy. There's no reason, really.
No,
I hated how they did that intro of him, because as a fan of actual Superman, no, don't make him like a little tortured brat. That's not the point. Superman's supposed to be criticizing the weakness in humanity, because Superman is a Superman. His alter ego is Clark,
and they
not the other way around.
And Kevin Costner as his dad was like, I'm not saying that he was badly cast. He's a good actor.
Yeah,
but telling him to not reveal, like, I get what they were doing. Like, I get.
No, I don't like that either. The don't reveal your powers thing, like, and then dying because of it. Oof.
It's stupid. No, it was stupid. It's like, you could just save your daddy.
It's not a Superman thing at all. It's just.
I mean, no one will have noticed. You pretty much go at the speed of light.
Yeah.
Like...
yeah.
But that was my problem with that movie. It's just like, I got everything they were trying to do. Like, I get the concepts. I get how they did the story, build the story building. I know how they were trying to deconstruct the character to then build him up to the character. But it just like fell flat for me, especially at the ending when they're just like flying into buildings and destroying all of Metropolis and just fucking collateral damage everywhere, guys. It's like a lot of.
And then he kills Zod too, which is so unlike Superman's character.
People gave so much of a shit about killing Zod. I frankly didn't care about killing Zod. I cared about him murdering civilians. People are focusing on him killing the bad guy. I'm like, he destroyed he killed more people than the terrorists on 9/11 killed by tearing down all those buildings, smashing Zod into them. I had some issues with that. But then came Batman v Superman, and I'm like, okay, Batman, he's the bee's knees. Let's see what happens here. So that whole intro scene of Batman versus Superman, I really appreciate it because it contextualized Man of Steel better for me. So I'm like, okay, Man of Steel was a 6. Now it's a 6.5. I appreciate that Batman versus Superman was able to kind of take something that I didn't like about that movie and bring it to give another perspective to it. But still, that movie, I mean, it was called Batman versus Superman. Why is Doomsday here? It's just like, come on, we're trying to explore
and Wonder Woman and all this stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
So it was like, I remember I was watching, I think it was the Honest trailer for Batman versus Superman, and like the end of the, you know how they always do the funny title card for the movie, and like it was called Batman versus Superman Rush to the Justice League. And I'm like, this is what this stupid movie was
that's
about.
What it is.
It was world building without character building. Even though I wasn't a fan of Ben Affleck when he was cast, and he turned out to be the best thing about that movie. I'm saying it now. Affleck was amazing. So,
but was it amazing because by himself, or was it amazing because you're comparing it to the plaster that's everything behind?
No, I actually like. I actually like that.
I really like Ben Affleck as Batman. Actually, yeah.
Surprisingly, I was like, oh, okay, I buy it. I will. I will go to bat for you, Mr. Affleck.
No
But
pun.
I'll buy you some Dunkin' Donuts, and you seem so fond of them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check the pictures. It's funny. But then Justice League, Joss Whedon. I remember when Joss Whedon came in to take over Zack Snyder after the tragedy with his family happened, and I was so naive back then. I'm like, Joss Whedon,
Yeah.
great guy. He's such a good guy, and now it's just like, oh my god, why did I ever say anything like that? Joss Whedon's a monster. But anyway, the man at that time, yeah. You don't know? If you don't know, read the news. Joss Whedon's a piece of shit.
I
Yes.
didn't know.
But at the time, all I
don't
knew
know
about
anything
Joss
about it.
Whedon. Check it out.
No, I don't even know who Joss Whedon is. So
Oh, he
I'm checking it out. So.
he directed Avengers 2. He did Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's done a bunch of
Mhm.
shit.
Yeah.
But
Firefly.
But apparently he's a horrible human being, and
Oof,
he should be
I
canceled.
did not know that. Mhm.
But obviously, unanimously, Avengers is a good movie. And I was like, well, I mean, if the man did Avengers and that was good, he
can do
perfect
Justice
person.
League.
He's the
Yeah.
perfect person for Justice League. I was wrong. I was so wrong. And that movie
Everybody was wrong.
was horrendous, and not just horrendous in terms of like the movie per se. It's just like you can tell it's a Frankenstein type of movie because you can tell exactly which scenes were Zack Snyder and which scenes were Joss Whedon. You can tell what was a reshoot because of like horrible over the shoulder shots where you can tell that the actors were never in the same place because they always shoot them individually and then splice them in a horrible green screen, and the plot doesn't make sense. It was such a bad movie. I fucking hated it. And I really wanted to like it because, Batman. I mean, I'm not a Marvel guy and I love those movies. Batman has always been my superhero.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, let's do this. And I like Batman because he doesn't have superpowers. I always appreciate a hero without superpowers. But then, with the disaster that was Justice League, we had to live with that shame for how long has it been? 3-4 years.
4 years.
But always the rumblings online, right? Of like, oh, the Snyder cut. So I was looking up for this movie for a long time because if there's something that I like, is like an artist being able to complete his vision, and like the whole idea of Zack Snyder being able to like come back after this whole drama happened and be able to do things his way. I was like, I'm for that, man. I want people to do what they want to do and be proud of the things they want to do. So it was like a good feel good story for me if it was ever going to happen, because I never in a million years thought this was going to happen. But it was finally announced. I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to this, and there's no way it can be worse because this movie was just horrendous. But then again, I was like, well, it's Zack Snyder. The only thing that I really like that he's done, and this is a controversial opinion, is Watchmen. I've actually really enjoyed that movie.
I love Watchmen too. I love Watchmen.
People don't like Watchmen.
Some people do not like Watchmen because, again, the same Zack Snyder stuff. It's too brooding. It's too dark. They changed the.
He changes the ending.
And I'm like, okay, but the movie's awesome because it's the deconstruction of the superhero shit. And Night Owl is Batman, and Batman in this movie looks just like Night Owl.
Yeah, they give him the glasses and everything.
Yeah, the same armor.
Yep.
So like I came to Justice League with low expectations, but joy in my heart because I'm like, it's here. I thought it would never come here, but the guy did it, man. He went through some shit. He lost his daughter. He lost his movie. Like it was out of hope, but he got to do it. So I was like happy watching that movie. And surprisingly enough, I really enjoyed the shit out of it. I thought it was, I'm not gonna say fun because it's a Zack Snyder movie. They're not fun. They're a journey. But like considering that it was 4 hours long, there are some sequences that are a lot. There are a lot of sequences that are fun. But considering that it's 4 hours long, I felt it was extremely well paced. I didn't have to pause that often. I mean, I had to go to the bathroom sometimes. But I felt it made sense. There are some things that don't make sense, like why did Darkseid forget what planet the anti-life equation was in? It's like he has spaceships, but he doesn't have computers. It's like, you're gonna tell me he didn't log that shit in? It's like, come on. If I can put some post-its at my apartment and remember stuff, Darkseid can tell one of his minions to remember that's the planet, and we have to go back. but I
I mean,
I really enjoyed it.
you left all the mother boxes in one place. Like,
Exactly.
you
It's
could
like
have
you would
just,
think
like,
you would think
pinpoint,
you want to
like, oh wait, that's where I
exactly.
You know,
we
mark it on a map before you leave, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's the place I have
drop
to come
a
back to.
pin.
Yes.
Yes. Like we can do it on our iPhones. You're gonna tell me Dark Side cannot.
Dark
do it.
side can't do it.
And so there's stuff like that. I'm like, it doesn't make. It's like, Zach, I get it. You have to explain everything because we live in a nerd culture where nerds must have everything explained to them. But if you're going to explain something, don't make it stupid. I'd rather you not explain it. And it's like, well, you didn't explain it, so it doesn't matter. But if you explain it, then there's a problem because now it's just stupid, and that's your
That
fault.
was stupid.
So
It could have been as
I get
easy.
some of those things.
It could have been as easy as Darkseid not discovering the anti-life equation there at first. Like he
Yeah,
just went there to
exactly.
conquer randomly, and now Steppenwolf is the one that finds it, and that's more redeeming for Steppenwolf because it's like, I found you the
I found
anti-life
the-
equation. But the way they did
Boom.
it's like, dude, what?
Boom, done.
We all remember
Done.
what happened in the battle that was lost. Really? You remember the
I mean,
Yeah.
but then again, you know, how many thousands of years was this? Maybe somebody did record it. They just probably, it's like,
Lost
oh,
that in the paperwork, like the
oh,
Yeah.
DMV.
I mean, it was probably the intern parademon that was working.
Oh my god.
Oh, I put
He
the
got-
pinpoint.
we all know that intern. Like fucked that up for somebody. That would have been a good thing for him to do instead of like saying that he forgot where it was. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
it was that intern once. I knew the planet started with an E.
he had one job.
Thank God I cut off his head. But no, I really like Justice League. I think obviously there's lots of things that I will be on board with everybody and say like that didn't work or this is dumb. Like especially like slow motion.
Too
You could have
much.
cut that movie. You could have cut that movie down to 3 hours.
Slow motion
Probably. if you
hot
cut up-
dogs.
That's exactly what I was gonna say now. Unnecessary. Why do we need to see a? It's like that was stupid jokes. That was like a Joss Whedon joke, basically. It was like, why do we need to?
No, it was
have him stop for the hot
terrible.
dog?
Yeah, the slow motion is so overused. It's like, I love you, Zack Snyder, but man, shouldn't you have gotten that out of your system with 300? Like, it's done. You stop, please.
Like it was cool in the Flash scene when he like he just like
Yeah.
knocks the sword over to Wonder Woman. I was just like,
Yeah.
you're gonna use anything.
You have to know where. Yeah, the
You
hot
have to
dogs.
know precisely because otherwise it's just it's self-indulgent and not it doesn't have purpose anymore if you're just like using it all the time.
Aside from the
But-
fact that entire sequence with the Flash was unnecessary, one, it was completely predictable. You knew as soon as she got into the car that she was going to get hit by the truck. Like,
that
you
was
knew
in
it
all
was
the
coming.
trailers.
Oh, it
Um,
was stupid. It was like misogynist. It was like, dude, you're touching her face and like cleaning her hair. Like, you're trying to save her. It's not.
And there
You're
was no
still-
need to
don't take
introduce
time to-
Iris already. Like, you don't really need to introduce Iris at this point in time. Just period. I've always actually, I still don't like the Flash, like how he has been interpreted.
No,
I
neither.
like Ezra Miller as an actor, but I think he was just badly cast for this role. I don't like the way that he was
Yeah.
written, like excessively ADD, that you can't even have him have a coherent thought. He's just like incredibly childish.
I mean, I
And-
agree, but they did him better in this version than the original Justice League. Because in the original Justice League, they were like, "Oh, just make him Spider-Man and make
Oh,
him do
yeah.
quips and reference
Yeah.
pop culture." So I'm
Yeah.
not saying he's good here because I do
Yeah.
also not.
Yeah, they
I-
improved on it. They did.
But,
They
yeah.
did. I agree that they improved on it, but I hate the lightning around him all the time when he's running, and I hate the way he
Mm.
runs, even like with like the long arms
he
or
looks- he
whatever
looks-
it is
he
he does.
looks
He looks really goofy and strange. I don't know.
And that's the thing I enjoyed because he's actually traveling at the speed of light.
I do like the lightning. though,
Physics, your arms are gonna look elongated. Everything's gonna malfunction.
Mm.
That's why I actually enjoy.
Enjoy that.
Did you?
Okay.
Did you enjoy the Flash actually saving the day and like doing the Speed Force to turn back time?
I love the Speed Force.
I
It's
did
like,
love. I love that.
There we
I
go.
did
So
love
they-
that.
So they
Yeah.
are awesome things.
no.
Yeah.
Again, it's
Yeah,
they're
and that
doing
sequence with
every
him
possible-
going into the Speed Force looks amazing as he brings back everything
Yeah.
in time
Yeah.
and everything. So
And then he's like running ahead of time as everything is like reconstructing.
yeah.
And he Well, one
It's
of the
like,
cool things I
yes.
liked about Speed Force too was that he knows that he can fuck up the world, and he already has that sense of
Yeah.
responsibility. And he's like,
Yeah.
"You have to do it now. You have to break your rule." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Some introspection and like acknowledging consequences of your actions. I appreciate that. You make
I
me
appreciate that.
you make me like you a little bit more. And fun fact for all everyone that is listening to this podcast who is always used to us talking about Star Wars. I mean, a lot of people probably already know this, but for those who don't, Chris Terrio of Rise of Skywalker infamy was the writer for this movie. So I have to give credit where credit's due. He did a reasonably better, not considerably, a reasonably better job at Justice League than he did with Rise of Skywalker, hands down. I mean, he did have 4 hours for it. Rise of Skywalker. I mean, I will bash that all day long, but maybe I'm just like in a high of Justice League.
I give Rise of Skywalker by far better ratings than.
Oh my god!
Oof. Yeah,
That's those are big words.
Those are fighting words. Those are fighting words right there.
There's no
Right.
fighting here. We'll let the fandom menace fight.
No, it's again, it's like you can have disagreement and be amazing.
Oh no, of course. I was just kidding. Come on.
No, because that's the other thing about this movie. It's all about violence. It's like, let's gore everything up. Everything has to be punching somebody and chopping somebody's head off, and let's
When
get
they
even
shot
more.
the lantern's hand, I really like that. Though.
Well, I really liked that Age of Heroes part.
Mhm.
I can't believe it was cut so much from the original version. That's part 2.
2 or 3.
One of them.
First half.
Okay.
Because I loved how they brought back, the gods and everything, even from with Hippolyta having like, the arrow of Artemis, and it brings so much more like, I don't know, more depth into that whole storyline, because before in the other one it's just like, oh, the fire there, oh, and this is the story of how everything happens. Okay, let's get through those very quickly. No, and this time you have her actually going there and finding out the story, and then the battle is so epic. You actually get to see the gods. You can see David Thewlis coming back as Ares, which I thought was great, and you see an actual Green Lantern, not just like in the background flying a little bit, but just like an actual Green Lantern.
Not for long.
And that, well, not for long. But you do get a really, really fun fight out of it. I mean, and even with everything bad that happened, having Darkseid as the bad guy is way better than having just Steppenwolf and whatever that other Steppenwolf was that was just completely one-dimensional and kind of comical in the way he looked, and every way that he acted was just completely unbelievable and unthreatening, really. And then you get Darkseid, who looks super cool. Steppenwolf, who they made him smaller but looks more intimidating. The armor
looks cool.
The armor kind of,
the armor's always adjusting all
But
the time.
it was like
it's kind of like Rorschach's
Thor.
mask, like it continues to move.
I thought it was like a discard, like Thor enemy, honestly.
Oh, from first
because he's
Thor.
so shiny. Yeah.
It's the metal opens up and it's like, I'm like, again.
Okay, I can see that. I can
see that. Yeah, but it's still
cool
maybe that's my problem. I'm not seeing movies as a vacuum. It's like everything comes in. It's like
Interesting. No, but I mean, I get that. Pero I did appreciate, and I'm not gonna claim here, and I want people to say that, oh my god, like who said that Stephen was the most compelling villain of any superhero movie? Because absolutely not. He's still pretty generic as far as it goes. But I still appreciate that they did give him motivation beyond like, I'm just gonna conquer the world. It's like, he wants to find his place and redeem himself, and he's kind of frustrated with his place in life. So it's nice to like know that he's not just like conquer worlds and destroy everybody and kill because I'm a bad guy. That's
what Darkseid's for.
Which is kind of like you just shifted it one level over. But maybe in 4 years when Zack Snyder gets to do like an animated version of Justice League 2, he can like give Darkseid a little bit better motivation. But I mean, and that's a good thing though. I mean, Darkseid ends up being generic in this version, but since he's not the primary villain, he's in the background. He can get away with it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like,
they
he's
did the
not the
same with
focus.
Thanos. It's like a discard, like, oh, it's an incoming threat. Like,
Yeah, and then Infinity
Wow.
War. Oh, Thanos is the main character, and he was awesome.
so.
Oh well, and then back to what Mo was saying, that it's all, you know, violence and gore and everything. Then you take one of like the sweetest, like more humanizing scenes, was the conversation between Lois and Martha about them sharing their grief over, you know, Clark dying. And then you kind of completely remove all the emotion behind it by it turns out that it's not Martha and it's Martian Manhunter. Not that it wasn't awesome to see Martian Manhunter, but you took away all of the emotion. I was
not expecting that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and then it opens more questions. Then how the hell did Martian Manhunter, like, are you truly a creep? Are you just like manhunting everybody?
I mean,
showing up as people's family members and stuff.
Your name isn't Manhunter if you're not manhunting, or person hunting. Sorry. Or people hunting?
I don't know.
I mean, that was an awesome cameo, and like, I guess I was blindsided by it, and I wasn't thinking about that, but that's a very good point. Both of Manhunter scenes don't make sense in context, because I think the Martha one actually works better in terms of like what it did to develop the story, as opposed to his second cameo, which was kind of like gratuitous. It's like,
yeah, it's like,
hi,
by
Bruce.
the way, I'm Martian Manhunter. Bye. Like,
yeah, and Bruce is like, oh, okay, thanks. You know, you have my card.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like,
I'm going back to sleep.
Which is so like not Batman at the same time. It's like, you have like Batman won't have known who Martian Manhunter is, and would have been like,
ready or some shit with like guns from the trees pointed secretly at him, or a satellite with some missile, like contingency plans, instead of being like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just trust you immediately without knowing who the hell you are.
Mm-hmm. And with a name like Martian Manhunter, yes, I'm the good guy.
I'm the good guy.
It's in my name.
He did look awesome though. Like, I did.
He did. He looked awesome. I was really excited when I saw him. I even though they did a really good job in this film with Cyborg, I think he's the one that benefited the most from this version of the film, because they actually gave him a really good backstory and heart, because I think he was really unlikable in the first movie. He was just so
you couldn't like someone that isn't in the movie, right?
Yeah, but I gotta be honest that I like the original Justice League, because I know that with the New 52 they made Cyborg a part of the original team of Justice League, but originally it was with it wasn't him, it was Martian Manhunter and a Green Lantern. So I was always kind of upset when the movie came out that they picked Cyborg. I was like, you should have done like Martian Manhunter or Green Lantern. I know that the Green Lantern movie is one of the worst things that has ever happened in the history of cinema, but you can't just
Green Lantern. I thought you, for a second I was like, a Martian Manhunter movie. I was like, what?
No, Green Lantern.
No.
Green Lantern.
I'm a hermit, but not that much.
Excuse me?
Wow.
But Green Lantern was just atrocious. But just because it was atrocious, you can't really abandon a character that's so important, because Green Lantern's important. So
they should have done James Stewart instead of like the
Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You could have done that. Just skip Hal Jordan. But whatever. And so I was really excited when I saw Martian Manhunter. I was like, yeah. So, but still, it wasn't the appropriate moment or situation to introduce him as. I don't think. I think there were many other opportunities to be like, hey, I'm around.
Here's an interesting idea based on what we've all said. Actually, I think a big consensus here, more or less, is that Superman is a crappy superhero, but more so than that his contribution to the story is a little suspect, because it kind of ruins a bit the team up. So what if instead of like we have Superman come and save the day, we would have had Martian Manhunter help, and then we leave the whole Superman resurrection shit for Justice League 2, and then it goes wrong, and then Superman's the villain of Justice League 2, and then the whole nightmare happens, instead of like, oh, he's good, but then he's gonna be bad.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you're talking about Batman's wet dream in the epilogue.
Exactly. That's the
Yeah.
nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I kind of thought that they were going to go in that direction when you saw the trailer that he was wearing the black suit, which is amazing, by the way. The black Superman suit I think is great.
Mm.
But when they showed that, I thought they were going in the direction of like evil Batman, evil Superman, sorry. And I thought it
I'm
would have
okay
been
with evil
way more
Batman, too.
I'm okay
compelling.
with-
So I really thought that they were going to go in that direction. So I was a little disappointed that they kept it almost the same from that point on. That's why I think it was really good up to like chapter 4. And then from then on, it's kind of almost the same. The second part of it, obviously not the epilogue. And obviously they edited a lot of the fights that make them way more fun to watch and that make more sense how they fight. I liked Ben Affleck a lot. Again, the way he portrays Batman, I think is really good. So it'll be nice to see if there's any way to get him back. Yeah.
And like in the Joss Whedon, he's still like, oh my god, am I? Really
Yeah,
saying
like
this?
okay.
But because I think because it goes back to like that, like OG Batman, the
Detective. Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's this guy. It's like been around the block. Also,
He
like-
knows. Yeah, he knows. Yeah. No, that whole scene with
Yeah.
like Alfred figuring out the gauntlets that absorb energy. I'm like,
That was super cool. Yes.
It's like, why don't you have more of that shit so that you
See,
can,
yeah,
like a
but-
normal
but-
dude, be able to fight with these things and kind of explain it a little better? Because in the Whedon cut, he like absorbs those. I
Yeah,
think
and
they
it's like,
show him,
dude,
it's like, what?
yeah,
what?
you don't have superpowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I was
And-
like, again, like discard Black Panther technology.
I mean, but I think it works better though, because then we're like making comparisons of like how technology is used, and I think frankly, in this case, I buy it more because it's more. Okay, this is a terrible word to use, but realistic. Because like it's not like a full application. Okay, I reverse engineered this shit and just like my whole body's gonna throw energy, which is like one of those things that like I got upset, even though I'm not upset, but if I'm gonna, it's one of the things about nitpicking that I have against the Marvel films is like you see Iron Man 1 and they present, obviously it's outlandish technology, but they try to keep it as grounded as possible, so it's like okay, believable. But then all of a sudden you go into like Black Panther or the Avengers and like all the technology is just like fuck it, everything's crazy now, and all the Stark technology and nanotech and like exploding things, and it's like okay, whoa. So before being grounded, now it's like no one cares, which is fine. I mean, that's the way that they frame it in the movie. Like it's okay, but always for me, it's just like okay, well then this is not the real world anymore. Not that it is. Okay, I sounded like a nerd again. But with Justice League, with showing that at least the gauntlet thing, it's still like okay, Batman is still a loser human being that can't fight against aliens, but he's doing his best. God damn it! And his best is a little gauntlet that absorbs energy for a little bit, and it's just like he's taking baby steps, but he's getting there. So it's a stepping stone to him having reasonably cool technology that should always still be not as good as aliens, because that would ruin Batman's allure if he just turned into Black Panther or Iron Man.
Yeah, because he is, I mean, it makes sense. He is the guy with the gadgets, but it's also because he's so intelligent. I mean, when the Justice League gets founded, he has contingency plans for all of the members of the Justice League if they go rogue. I mean, so I did like that they're still exploring that intelligent side of Batman. And I did always love Jeremy Irons as Alfred. So I just...
He was very good in this one, yeah.
Mhm.
Because in the other one, he doesn't really get to do much.
He was barely used, yeah. And this one, you can actually, you see him talking to Diana and, you know, even talking to Superman. I thought it was actually where it's like, Master Kent.
Yeah, and he does good jokes. They're not like the Whedon jokes that are like super like, oh my god, you're just trying too hard to be Marvel jokes. Here they're like understated. It's like, hey, I'm just making fun of Batman and making him feel bad and putting him down a peg or two. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I always appreciate when Alfred is, you know, he knows that he's better than Batman. That's always good.
And then it was like when kind of like Batman nodding to him, like when they came into the Batcave and was like, oh, I work for him. Like there's Alfred, I work for him. Like,
which is true. It's like Bruce might sign your checks, but he's your bitch. Yeah. He calls you when he's beaten down to a pulp in an alley. Alfred's the one that picks him up. We saw that in Batman Begins already. It's canon.
Yep.
Canon. It's confirmed.
Oh man.
What a long movie.
That's one of those interesting things. I mean, I think that's the worst part of the movie, that it's so long, because the movie shouldn't be that long. But in my mind, I was trying to go through and think, okay, what can I cut from this movie to like trim it down? And I'm like, it's tough because everything needs to be there for the movie to make sense. Otherwise, it'll just be like the Joss Whedon cut, where like you cut so much to trim it down for time that the movie loses its focus. And I think that is a mark against Chris Terrio, obviously, because it's like, I mean, you gotta know how to be a good writer and tell a concise story. And if you can't do it in a short amount of time, then you're not doing it that well. So I will agree that the 4-hour cut, even though I did enjoy it, should have not been 4 hours.
But which is good. But then, why put out something? It's, I'm gonna make the weirdest description, but it's like they just showed us like a building that's like put back together with duct tape. That's what they tried to do. And then they tried to hype it like, ooh, the Snyder cut. Like, you're all gonna like admit it, we failed. We like, let's scratch this. What, like, trying to do a fan service instead of actually, hey, let's give the guy another shot and make the movie the way you want to see it. Don't try to build for the sake of like saving some bucks, because that's what it is.
Well, it was $70 million. They didn't really save money.
Well, then if you're spending stuff, and then it's not like they're shooting on location. Clearly, everything is a green screen. They could have done it.
No, there were some things in Chicago. I noticed that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, the scenes that were just outside. I was like, but
I was like, Chicago.
Just like.
Well, I think the point is that this was his original vision.
This was what he shot.
Yeah, this is what he wanted to do.
The only new things that he shot, I think he only shot one new scene, and I think it was the nightmare, like the epilogue. I think that was the only new thing that he shot, because everything else was everything he had shot before he had to leave the movie. If I'm not mistaken.
So,
the epilogue was fun.
Yeah, the epilogue was fun. But I think the problem with these films
is I don't think he
he
should have included it, though. I mean, even as much as I liked it, it's just like, you're probably not doing the sequel, so don't sequel bait. Just wrap it up. Yeah.
I will disagree with you on that, though, because it was good. So I think
it was.
Yeah.
It's to DC in general, like, oh, you didn't want me to do a sequel? Fuck you. Look how awesome it could have been. So I mean,
I honestly, I think it would have benefited if the epilogue was the intro. Like, you get this falling universe, like Earth, and
it's like, how do we get there?
And then it hooks you up. Like, wait, how the heck did we end up here? Like, because you already know it's a Justice League movie, and then you throw out like, oh yeah, Aquaman is dead. You throw out
that was awesome. Yeah.
Like different. I mean, I wouldn't know if it's dead or not, but you can assume that that's what's happening.
Yeah, because Mira is kind of pissed. So
yeah, and then you go. And
why did her accent change?
Right.
You were not supposed to notice that.
Exactly.
Well. To be honest, it was put as a dream, so maybe that's just Batman's subconscious.
No, but she also talks with a British accent, and when she's talking to Aquaman. Atlantis
in
scenes, and I'm like,
what?
It's like, I just saw Aquaman. You have like a normal accent there, like an American accent, not normal, an American accent there. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
At least her hair was better.
Yeah, the Aquaman hair. I just watched Aquaman last night.
That wig in Aquaman is just.
It's a little too much. It's like, I get that this movie's like bright and campy, but come on.
No.
Because please. No one's that much of a genius. Come on.
I did actually enjoy them bringing in Willem Dafoe.
Balco looked amazing. I was like, God, why didn't
the long glorious hair?
and just throws the trident at him. It's like, I'm tired of their shit.
Just
I
claim
like
it,
that.
you little bitch. Yeah. That was good.
It was great. He's such a great actor.
That's
And
Willem Dafoe. Yeah,
I know.
Come on.
Yeah.
He's
and it's
not
funny
ever
because
bad.
the last movie I saw where he was at is The Lighthouse.
Oh,
Just-
I haven't seen that one. I need to watch it. Yeah,
I
I heard
haven't
it's
seen it either.
fantastic.
The
It has Batman
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
amazing movie. Like it's like heady. Like you'll be like,
Yeah.
what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, I've read that it's really weird. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But really good. Yeah.
But amazing. Like, and then I was like, wait, did you just like come from that
Listen,
movie
yeah.
and became
It's just like
just like
What happened?
like
he just has such a good crazy face. He would have been a good
know.
Joker, I think.
a good what?
Oh yeah.
A good Joker.
He would have been a good Joker. Yeah.
You see, I really liked him as a Goblin, but yeah, if it would have been.
And now that you mention it, there's and the the internet and its rumors. But there's a rumor online that in the new in Spider-Man 3, since like
He might come back
it's
as
a
Green Goblin?
It's a multiverse that like he's coming back as the Green Goblin, just
Yeah.
like Alfred Molina is also coming back as Doc Ock, and I'm like, individually some of these things are cool, but
But all
collectively,
together,
it's like
Spider-Man 3
what's
again.
happening. It's like what's happening.
how bad was that one? Oof. And then especially how well they pulled it up in the animated version of Into the
Yeah.
Spider-Verse was fantastic. It's like don't
Yeah.
mess with it.
There's
Don't
some
mess with a
things
good
that-
thing.
But there's some things that just don't translate from animation to live action.
It
And
doesn't.
they prove. I mean, the thing that proved it the most was Dragon Ball Evolution. It's just like it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Don't try. Some things are just best left for animation, because in animation we can believe anything because it's not real, because it's fake. It's a drawing. But live action, there's less suspension of disbelief, and like I don't know why some people just keep trying to push things that just are way out there. Even though some people would probably say that Justice League, some things were way out there. But
Yeah, it's also not real. Just pointing it out.
none of it is real.
Oh man.
Really, I would have never guessed that. Although to be honest, maybe we wouldn't know if it's real, because thankfully in the DC universe, everything happens in the US. Like apart from some distant, unknown town in Russia, everything else happens in Chicago and the US.
True. At
Every-
least I will give DC that much of credit. Now, to your point, is that at least in DC, disasters are spread around the world, and unlike Marvel, where everything is in New York, everything happens in New York City. Not even like
Or
Rochester, New
Sokovia.
York. It's just like that was one exception. Fine.
Marvel is at least embraces. Oh wait, and
Fake
was it?
countries. Yeah.
and Kathmandu.
But then they go back to New York and then Tokyo.
And then they go back to New York. Oh, I mean, because of everything revolves around New York. Apparently, the whole universe spins around it. That's the. I'm sure the anti-human
Life equation is
equations in New York. Like,
see that's one of those things. Like I had to research what the fuck the anti-life equation was, because I'm not. I mean, Nani Guaco, your brother's probably like a bigger. Well, not probably. He definitely is a bigger DC
Yeah.
nerd than all of us combined, and he probably already knows what the fucking life equation is, anti-life
Yeah, he
equation
does.
is, and everything. Yeah, but when I've heard of it, but it's like it's not an easy concept. So like I'm like, what the
it's a mouthful to start
what
with.
the fuck is this? Like, I don't even know what a mother box is to begin with, and I gotta know what the anti. It's like at least Marvel keeps it stupid for us. It's like, hey, that bad guy, he's the same as the good guy, just opposite.
Just
Well, and it's even more complicated in the comics, because there's also father boxes and like boom tubes and like
Step brother boxes. I watched that movie. As long as Will Ferrell and
right.
these guys are in it,
John
I'll
C.
watch the
Reilly.
Step Brother boxes. John C. Reilly, Step Brother boxes. I'll watch that one.
So yeah,
Father
so
boxes.
Do they have like baby boxes?
Probably.
Mom and Papa box gets together. And, like,
I'm not a super knowledgeable nerd about it, so I can't go into explaining it. You'd have to ask or El Josbando, who knows, or my brother.
Then again, your brother's favorite superhero is Aquaman. So I don't know. I don't know what that says. I don't know what that says.
Before he was portrayed by Jason Momoa.
Exactly. Jason Momoa fixed Aquaman for everybody. Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's oof.
And it's I think
Jason
that's one of the best characters. He just like
Aquabro.
He just attracts all the attention. It's like he's just like, oh, I'm drinking.
Like, all right.
Oh yeah. Who said I didn't care? It's like, I mean,
he's great.
You've been
hey, he somehow managed to pull off that hideous, horrible orange and green outfit. He actually pulls up. He does.
I mean, but
ish. It's okay. Yeah.
Not in Justice League. Everybody's like wearing black here. It's like the
no, because
Aquaman,
in Aquaman, because he doesn't get that horrible suit till Aquaman, but still.
So is Aquaman after Justice League?
Yeah, and that's it. That's also a good thing that like Justice League does is that it actually does better job at like tying into some of the other DC films, specifically Aquaman. Because if you see the original Justice League, as they call it online, Justice League. It doesn't really reference anything. I didn't make it up. It was the internet.
But no, it made no sense.
I just tried to say, it was my accent that doesn't make it work. But the original Justice League doesn't show any character development for Aquaman that will tie into the next movies. But this Justice League, the Zack Snyder one, does, because it presents Vulko. He has a better conversation with Mira where he's talking about his mom and stuff. So it makes Aquaman not only tied directly, but then makes sense with the events of what happened here. And Aquaman also has our favorite bounty hunter, Boba Fett, Tamora Morrison. So Star Wars and DC Universe collide. So there we go, nerds. Everything's connected.
Ryan Reynolds did it way beforehand.
Ryan Reynolds. They need to get. Oh, he got Deadpool. It's fine. He redeemed himself. Even though I hate him, like I want to punch him in the stupid fucking handsome face.
I'm seeing like a pattern here, Goose. You want to punch like
Chris Evans. He wants to punch
Jared
Leto.
No, I like Chris Evans. I don't like Chris Pratt because he's a religious bigot. You know that. I'm not saying anything new. It's on the news. So fuck Chris Pratt. Jared Leto's just too pretty, and so is Ryan Reynolds. But at least Jared Leto's talented. Ryan Reynolds maybe not so much.
What's your thought on Jared Leto's?
Jared Leto. I mean, he's a pretentious douchebag. Sorry, Jared, if you're listening, I'm still a fan. But he's a pretentious douchebag, and he has a rock. I mean, he's too cool. It's just like I'm just jealous, and that's what it comes down to. He's very attractive, and I'm very jealous. And Ryan Reynolds is just
that's fair enough. You know,
that's it.
But I thought he was a really good Joker. Like not whatever shit was that he did for Suicide Squad. That with
because he was laughing like a pigeon. Come on,
no, yeah. This Joker, I didn't. It was like not the same as the.
No, it was a completely different Joker.
It was a better Joker. That doesn't mean I liked it. I mean,
that's why I think like it seems like this was honestly just Batman's subconscious making this dream. It's like, it's like everybody's dead. My best friend is the Joker. Like what a joke of my life. And then he wakes up and it's like all chill. Like, oh yeah, the Martian is there.
Like, hi Martian. Wanna come play some chess or something?
Yeah. Like, can I tell you about my dream? Do you think it's gonna happen?
Well, but I mean, I think they were hinting at the fact that it is what is gonna happen. It's not just a dream because you see that first dream sequence when Flash goes to wake up Superman, and then like the mother box says like the future has been set into the present.
Oh, when he does the
running to turn on the mother box and bring back Superman. And you see that, and you see the.
But that's when Cyborg connects.
That's Cyborg's vision.
Yeah.
Right,
Flash
Cyborg's the one
powers
that
him
sees
up
it.
and things. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
but
okay.
it's
For a second, I was like, wait, there was another Batman dream. Maybe I missed.
no,
it.
no, no. So
Well, it's
Cyborg sees
Batman
it.
versus Superman is the first nightmare
But-
sequence.
but-
Ties
but you
into
s-
this one.
But that's why it confused me, because at one point also this Batman like says to Diana, "Oh, I had a dream that Barry said that
Mhm.
Lois Lane like,"
It's
and
the
then it's
key.
like, when were you dreaming about this? Like,
You gotta watch the
That
other
was in the
movies.
other movie.
Because that.
on the other Justice League movie?
No. Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I saw that one, but
I remember that like Flash comes in with the armor.
Flash comes in
from
like
Justice
Flashpoint.
League.
oh
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
Mhm.
Bruce, Lois is the key, all that shit. And then
Gotcha.
he has the other nightmare sequence where Superman kills him and shit. That's why I like. That's what I like about just Zack Snyder, that he does. He like ties things directly from one movie to the next to make you appreciate the previous one. Which is like, okay, even though I still don't like that movie, I appreciate that.
I appreciate
this-
you.
I like the effort of the cross pollination.
Yeah. But again,
Speaking
the
of cross
problem has been.
pollination, wait.
Oh, okay.
I said something that reminded me of something I wanted to say. We were gonna talk about dormant sperm.
This is a good
Okay.
question. What
Yeah.
a well, the first thing that came to mind is like, maybe Lewis just left that pregnancy test there for months. I mean, it's possible.
And hadn't taken the test yet.
Yeah, maybe they were thinking. I mean, who knows? Maybe they were planning on getting a child, and then Superman dies, and you just leave it there.
Mhm.
Like, if it was that, definitely there would have been some papers on top of that pregnancy. There would be
Yeah,
something.
it wouldn't be that obvious.
It wouldn't be
there.
that
Yeah.
So my first guess, I was like, oh, then that means there's a possibility that Lois Lane is pregnant. But then I asked before the show, I was like, asked Kus and Nani, how long has it been since the death of Superman to Lois Lane still mourning?
Pregnant. Yeah.
Pregnant.
Yeah.
And unless the only reasonable explanation that comes up is the dormant sperm.
Superman is, Superman's got super sperm, and his super sperm knows when he's alive, and it's just went dormant. And Lois Lane only got pregnant once the mother box reactivated Superman, and his super sperm got super activated. And she got super pregnant. That's it.
That's it.
That's the only explanation. Only explanation.
Which then?
That's science, by the way.
Science.
Science.
Then, I mean, could you retroactively?
Carl Sagan can
Could
confirm
you
this.
retroactively say that Jesus was born out of super sperms? That's
Jesus was the first case of artificial insemination in planet Earth, so I'm gonna go with yes.
Super
Science, once
theory
again.
confirmed.
Science. It's like you can't argue with facts.
I mean,
Oh wow. I mean,
like-
were we even actually able to confirm that it has been over 3 months since?
It's been
well-
it's been less than a year, but more than 3 months. I think that's
because
the consensus I've read from nerds
Okay.
online.
yeah, she would definitely be showing by now.
like, if it's been 6, or I'm sorry, Clark. I mean, it happens. You died. Like,
I found somebody.
I mean, Lewis has to move on. Like,
Batman.
Batman's right there, and everyone knows that Bruce Wayne likes to fuck.
or
Sorry, it's a fact. Have you not seen Batman movies? Yeah.
Wait, no. So let's get this. How did the Martian knew where Lois Lane lived? Maybe it was the Martian
Martian.
dressed up
Oh
as somebody
no.
else. I mean,
No.
again, this is
Dressed
creepy.
up as Bruce Wayne because he knows Bruce Wayne gets it.
Again, it's a creepy
This
movie.
is all conjecture. This is all conjecture, nerds. Don't get excited. Don't get excited, man. This is all a theory until Zack Snyder confirms it. So don't come adding it. Don't add us on Twitter. This is all
which
a
is
fucking
which
theory.
is bullshit. Like, why is Lois Lane the other human being that's capable of influencing Superman? Your only role is to be a pregnant woman. Like, seriously?
I mean,
Like,
that's
how
something
you
that
fall into it.
she's always been shortchanged in these films, frankly.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things that I've always been upset about, even since Man of Steel. You get Amy Adams, who's a world-class actress,
Right.
who like, you know, that she's like the new Meryl Streep, basically. And you get her for your superhero movie, but then you just made her not even a supporting character. You make her like a a, 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 a parasite character in a way, because it's just like there to support Superman in his trauma or progression. She's not even like helping him develop or being equal to him in a intellectual way. It's like, no,
she's just like kind of whiny and just there, and
she's a damsel in distress all the time. And when she's not in distress because she's being a damsel, she's just in distress because her man ain't there. And that's a fucking horrible thing to do to such, not only a character, but like an actress of Amy Adams caliber. So like I agree with that one 100%. You will not hear any argument from me on how they did Lois Lane dirty.
Dirty.
And you can't make someone important by just making them important because they're the key to actually making someone else even more important, and that's someone else being just a man.
When Lois Lane was a badass in her own right before she even met Clark Kent.
Absolutely.
So.
Like it. I mean, honestly, Lois is the one that's supposed to psychologically be
stronger.
Mm-hmm. She's that. She's like, and then it's like, seriously, you've been mourning for 6 years? I mean, 6 months. Like you can
or
mourn,
9 or 3,
or 9 or 3, give or take.
Well, and you can mourn, but it was that whole like getting coffee and going to his statue every day and just kind of
quitting your job. It's like, you're a world-class reporter. Like get the fucking news. Go write. Get your Pulitzer.
It's like like, you know, make this person mourn, and you know they become the amazing editor of the and then they're changing the viewpoints of people and superheroes and putting things like, no, fuck that.
No.
Like,
you're not gonna hear any disagreement on my part when it comes to Lois Lane. That's I absolutely agree on that one. So I think we've done like a good deconstruction of like our very passionate opinions of Justice League. But there was another superhero event that happened when Justice League came out from the rival, or not say rival, the friendly partner of DC, Marvel. We had Falcon and the Winter Soldier come out, and I think all three of us saw it. And I think all three of us actually, in direct opposition to Justice League, we all had a pretty similar opinion on it. Why don't we discuss that a little bit as we start wrapping up for tonight?
Well, I'm pretty sure that all three of us' reaction was, it was fine. I think we all agreed on, it was fine. That's fine. I think it's a general description. I mean, it was shot beautifully. That opening sequence, the fight was insanely well shot and just
the flying through the canyon. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. But the show, I mean, it's only one episode, so I can't be overly judgmental here.
True.
But it's basically what I was expecting. And after the weirdness and awesomeness of WandaVision, getting something that, to use the word, is like generic superhero stuff. I'm not disappointed because it is what I was expecting. I was kind of hoping, to use your word, Mo, that they would trick us and do something like really, really out there somehow.
Which might still happen.
Which might still. But that was like my general opinion so far. But we'll see what happens.
Mo, you had a very poignant observation though that made the show a little uncomfortable.
Oh yes. I again, and this is coming from we need to stop Asian hate and any type of hate whatsoever in this country and anywhere we live it. We have to find ways to understand each other, and we have to find ways to, but having recent events on this week, unfortunately, on every level, there was a murder, a horrible hate murder of 8 people. 6 of them, I believe, were Asian, and then the first person that gets shot happens to be an Asian. I was like, maybe a little bit, but you can't predict this type of things. It's happened before, especially and which is again why should we start changing our stories, or are we maybe going to see, this is my hope for the show, can we see someone transition out of violence into a role where you can be a hero and not rely on violence as your tool of the trade, which we might see with Bucky. I mean, wait, let's. So Buck, what's James? Because he actually never refers to himself as Bucky. So, yeah, it's like one of those things, like everybody calls him by different things, but he always says, "Oh, I'm James Buchanan." Like he's adamant about that identity. So I'll respect that name. And yeah, I guess it was fine as a show. It has some elements. I kind of want to see how they treat that on going forward. Of like, you for the past 50 years, you've only known how to kill people, how to be violent, and how do you transition out of that? I don't see it happening, just because we already saw his demands were still violent, still relying on elements that shouldn't be fomented in our society. But it was good to also see the disparity of the racial divide that is also in the nation, the lack of resources because of our face, our color, our race, and how that transfers into the superhero journey.
Yeah,
I think that will be interesting to explore, but it doesn't, like,
if it's explored,
if it's explored whatsoever, because at least they have to, just because the new Captain America.
That's a little too woke for Marvel, if you ask me. Like them continuing what they did with Falcon, that I actually think was really good, and in terms of showing what you just said, but like them actually keeping that and like making a point to say, like, see, there is disparity and there's something wrong with it and we should address. I don't think that's Marvel's gonna. Sorry,
No. Again,
I hope I'm wrong. Yeah.
I think it goes back to the message of today. Let's maybe the title shouldn't be "Justice is Late." Justice is based on hope. Maybe that could be a good spin around, but that's not. Yeah, it was definitely way better than the Justice League. That's for sure. It's
interesting. I'm gonna ask you a question though, because you said that Justice League, you obviously have very strong opinions against, but with Falcon and Winter Soldier, you were like, meh. Do you prefer someone make you have like a more intense negative reaction, like, oh, I didn't like, I mean, negative, not in like, oh, I hate this because you're a piece of shit, but more like in like, oh, I just didn't like this, even though I appreciate the things they did, but like I just didn't like it, or something that's like it was serviceable, but like not something.
That's a good question. So I will appreciate everything that in some way or another expands my consciousness and awareness. If the storytelling brings an aspect of something I have not, like an angle, different viewpoint that I haven't considered, doesn't matter if it sucks, if it's a crappy thing, I will appreciate it. If it just doesn't evoke or and then again, this just on myself, like if in no way it creates a connection to either experience things differently or open my eyes to a different experience, at the end of the day, I'll go and mess with it. Like I'll probably forget about Justice League in a few. Like I'll just as I forgot the details on Man of Steel and maybe not that much Batman v Superman. There's still certain things that I enjoy about that movie. Just mainly Batman, but
because
Batman was great.
Batman.
Yeah. Okay. And it's really hard to make Batman wrong.
Batman.
Val Kilmer, George Clooney.
Val Kilmer was okay. George Clooney was terrible.
They're still fun. I saw them when I was a kid and they were amazing.
Oh yeah. I had all the toys. Yeah.
I had all the toys. So and at that point, at the moment in my time, it did open up my worldview. So
yeah. It's interesting.
So I appreciate that.
But I asked because of that, because obviously we still have like I don't know how many. I think it's 8 episodes or 10 episodes. I don't know, something like that. We still have like most of the show to watch, obviously, but we can only judge the first episode. That's the only thing we've seen, and so far, despite it like being good, like it for me, it's kind of like forgettable at this point. So I only ask because of that, because like at this point, I'm like, well, I'd rather have something that like created at least a visceral negative reaction that I can latch and okay, and it's misconstrued, right? Because I don't want to have negative be interpreted as like I hate this thing. I'm gonna make my life be about hating this, and my whole fandom will be about menacing other people. See what I did there? It's more about finding more criticisms that are less about praise and more about criticism in the more colloquial sense. I prefer if someone does that in a more passionate way than just someone who did something that's good but doesn't elicit anything else from it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, but maybe.
Which, to be clear, Justice League wasn't that for me. I'm just saying in general.
No, but I get how, again, visceral reactions are important. They're part of our repertoire. Like, we are human beings. We're like hairless apes that consume the world.
Not Henry Cavill. He's a hairy ape.
Hey.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying
it looks good.
It looks good. Man's got some fur. Yeah.
I'm not gonna open, but yes.
Yeah.
I understand that part. Some of us do have more hair than others. But
yeah.
Yeah, but I do think getting any sort of reaction is better, at least for me, than being like, I don't know.
You see, I because not getting any reaction, then you just like end up thinking like, then why did I saw this? Like, was it just to fill a time? And then it's like, should I be consumed? Which is like kind of like how Netflix is, in a way.
Most
things. Yeah, I mean, they're great shows, but most of their whole pumping system is, I'm gonna just give you you just consume and like take time, and I'm afraid that at least with the whole like, what if Marvel turns that way? Or because they're throwing it now, they have to compete with Netflix. They're throwing so much things out there. What if Star Wars becomes the same way? Like, it's at least on that sense, it's a legitimate, like, are we willing to sacrifice the quality for the quantity? And at least on my sense, I wouldn't like that. And but then again, there are other people that see the other way around, and props to everybody. Like, we're not here
which is
well, by the way, if you're interested in that subject, watch The Last Blockbuster. It's a documentary, ironically, on Netflix, but it's fantastic. And it's all about the difference in...
It's pretty fun. Yeah, I saw it over the weekend. But to your point, I think it's a very interesting conversation, because it speaks to like how us as consumers can, and I think we should wrap up kind of with this, because we're getting like a little philosophical here. But how us as consumers
maybe there's Maybe this works.
How us as consumers can influence the media that we consume. And obviously there's two ways to do it, right? It's like by either consuming or not consuming that media, or by demanding something from that media in a vocal way. And I think it's very interesting to have the discussion today when we're talking about the Snyder Cut, because the Snyder Cut came about because of fandoms and passionate people being online and being very vocal about them wanting to see something from the media that they consume, regardless of whether it's good or not. And I think it's a double-edged sword, because then that reminds me of Last Jedi. And I think Snyder Cut and Last Jedi are kind of two films of the same blade in a way. It's like one that was, and not so much because obviously Zack Snyder wasn't doing the movie to please fans. He did the movie he wanted to do, but it's, I still say it in the sense of how they came about, right? This movie came about because fans were asking for it, where Last Jedi was a movie that maybe fans didn't ask for, but were very vocal about not liking it. And it's this fine line of how, especially as a creator, and when I say creator, I mean like all these people making these movies, Ryan Johnson or Zack Snyder, DC or Lucasfilm, respond to that. And it's very complicated, I think, especially for them, because one, they have to, it's a business, sadly, and they have to make money. And obviously that's the bottom line for them, because that's how businesses go, as much as we might not like it. But on the other hand, they have to create something that the people want to buy. So like, how do you create something that people will like, but also stays true to the vision of the creators making it? So it's interesting times that we're living in, especially because of that whole internet loudness that some fandoms have. And we can see how it can be used for something good or something negative, which to that point makes me super happy, though, that this whole Snyder Cut happened, because a lot of the Snyder fans are some of these dude bro, cis, white, right wing pieces of shit fans, just like Fandom Menace. And Zack Snyder called them out, and he's like, in the interview a couple of days ago, he was like, hey, especially after what happened with the murders last week, he was like, hey, I don't stand for that. I've had Asian daughters, or children. I don't know if all of them are Asian children. So like, I don't stand for hate, and any fan that like stands for hate, it's not someone that I want to support. And guess what happened? Those fans lost their minds. And it's like, okay, well, if you're gonna like go into that frenzy of like disavowing a director because he just doesn't stand for hate and Asian hate, and you somehow feel triggered by that, there's something wrong with your positions. So to kind of like circle back to like how fandoms influence the media that we consume, it's kind of that double-edged sword. It can be used for creating fantastic stories that we want to see, or maybe influencing stories that we don't want to see. Rise of Skywalker, for example. So I don't know. It's weird.
But then that brings a good question. Is it enough to disavow while the media you create is precisely influencing on that? Like we just saw a 4-hour film pretty much loving violence, shooting guns, all about the white man, rich dude, come save the world. And then you demand, then you say like, yeah, you're in the wrong, but the media you're putting out, then put your work where your words are at. Like don't come out bringing a whole this for you and then disavowing. I don't know.
I don't completely disagree. I think it's definitely like a conversation to be had, especially when you're doing these type of adaptations that were made at a time that were very geared to a specific demographic, and have definitely had like a tough time adapting, I think, because I mean, how do you make Superman contemporary? I mean, they've talked about casting Michael C. Jordan. I forget his name. Sorry, Michael C. Jordan from Black Panther into Black Superman, and people lose their fucking minds. So it's like it's things that are societal too, where like people want to modernize things and make them more contemporary to the world that we live in, but it's this weird back and forth that society just can't get over themselves for, especially with these characters that aren't real. And they were always made for a specific time. And just like most of the things that we watch, they evolve with the times and with the people. So, like, why can't stupid comic book characters that don't exist and have always served the purpose to entertain and entertain in a positive and uplifting way? I don't know.
But that's I mean, it's all about it goes back to us, the almost hairless apes. Like, we in our minds, these people are real. Like, that's why we read a book and like immerse in it, because those people become, we are that goes back to, like, are you adding an extra mirror
Mm-hmm.
on how to look? Like, this all it's all about looking inward. That's all of the stories, they're just living within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If the only thing we consume over and over again keeps telling us,
The
hey,
same thing. Yeah.
the same thing, then it's an attack on me. The moment you attack that character, it becomes an attack on me.
Yeah.
You're already, that's the power of myth. You already went past the story, the fakeness, and it became your part of your mythos, part of your inner reality.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a good line to thread. Hey, I'm all for make people like cry, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I that's the change only comes from an uncomfortable, or like, that's the only way. It's and that does not mean change comes from violence. Change comes from pain. It comes from
Mm-hmm.
something being different in your system.
Yeah.
That's how cells became everything, and eventually apes, and the apes became humans. Like,
Yep.
it's that uncomfortableness. So at least to anybody that's like hearing out there, like, challenge us, like, challenge the viewer, like, give us
Mhm.
those visceral reactions, because it's the only way where we either accept a new myth, destroy old myths, or evolve them.
That's good. That's a good place to wrap this up.
That
Uh,
got deep. That got deep
so
fast.
so please, everybody, follow what Mo just said. Challenge us. Leave a comment. Leave us a post. Direct messages, maybe. We'll see. But talk about it. Let's have that conversation so that we can keep challenging the media that we watch and keep challenging the expectations we have of those things that we want to enjoy and, or hate. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, there's nothing wrong with not liking something. Just
Mhm.
express it, and then the conversation can lead you somewhere else. And then maybe you like this conversation. I enjoyed it. I'm still gonna say Justice League is a crap movie, but doesn't add an extra layer of, you see, that the conversation gave me that layer that was lacking on the movies. It's the opening your eyes, seeing it from a different perspective. So yes, everybody out there, we want to hear from.
All about Obi-Wan. It depends greatly on your point of view. But with that, Nanny, why don't you sign us off for another fantastic and especially philosophical episode?
Oh man. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. We are Triad of the Force. You can find us on Twitter at Triad of the Force, on YouTube, and anywhere that podcasts can be found. We are not only Star Wars, we talk about other nerd whimsies as well. So like, subscribe, give us a comment, tell us another subject that you would like us to talk about, and be part of the conversation. So I guess with that, we are out. May the Force be with you.